You know, the global economy is going through something right now, something it hasn't done in a generation. And it's not just a typical downturn, it feels a lot more like a fundamental reset. Understanding the massive forces that are driving this has never been more critical.
Okay, so let's just dive right into the heart of the puzzle, because this is it. For the first time in over 30 years, we're seeing this wild split in how people feel. On one hand, you've got near record highs in confidence about the stock market, pure euphoria. But on the other, people's feelings about their own personal finances are in the basement, as low as they were back in the 2008 crisis. When you see a gap that wide, it's a huge red flag that something in the system is starting to crack.
So yeah, this isn't just some weird statistic. It's a symptom, a sign that something much deeper has been brewing for decades. And to really get our heads around this great reset that's happening, we need to look at three huge forces that are all converging at the exact same time. The cracks forming inside our own economy, the absolute explosion of a new technology, and the fracturing of the entire global order. All right, first up, let's talk about the cracks that have been forming right under our feet, here at home. For more than a decade now, this quiet economic pressure has been building and building, and it's been creating two completely separate economic realities.
And wow, this chart really just says it all, doesn't it? Since 2010, the stock market, the S&P 500, has shot up almost 300%. An incredible boom. But real personal income, that's the actual money in people's pockets after you factor in inflation, it's only gone up by about 50%. So the world of finance is flying, but for most people, their paychecks are just not.
And you just can't have a gap that big for long. It's just not sustainable. The financial economy and the real everyday economy can only stretch so far apart before something has to give. So the real question becomes, what happens? Do wages finally rocket up to meet those sky-high asset prices? Or do those prices come crashing back down to reality?
So how did we even get here? Well, it's really a tale of two economies. On one side, corporate profits have been climbing and climbing. And where does all that money go? It gets plowed right back into financial assets, stocks, real estate, pushing their prices even higher. But at the exact same time, the personal savings rate for the average person has absolutely plummeted, leaving most people with nothing left to invest and no way to get a piece of that growth. And this hits home, literally. Think about it like this. The average house used to cost about 4 times what a household made in a year. That was the norm. Today, it costs 7 times. That's a core piece of building wealth that has become almost twice as unaffordable, essentially locking out an entire generation.
Okay, so you have all this economic pressure building up. And now, let's just pour some gasoline on the fire. Because on top of all that, we have this massive accelerant. An AI revolution so profound, people are already calling it the fourth industrial revolution.
And if you want to get a sense of just how big this is, just look at this number. The World Economic Forum estimates that AI and automation will get rid of a staggering 85 million jobs by next year. This isn't some far-off, distant future. It's happening as we speak.
Now you might be thinking, okay, big deal. Every new technology changes the job market, and you're right. We went from working on farms to working in factories. But there's a really strong argument that this time is fundamentally different, and it's all because of the types of jobs that AI is coming for.
See, in past revolutions, it was mostly about automating muscle jobs, jobs on a factory floor. This time, AI is coming for the office. We're talking about jobs that involve analyzing information and making a decision. Accountants, researchers, underwriters, even customer service. You know, these were the jobs we all thought were the safe ones. Good, solid, middle-class careers.
And the technology is moving at a mind-blowing speed. The next big step, apparently, is something called AI agents. These are specialized AIs that can reason, learn, and, get this, talk to each other to solve really complex problems. When you have millions of these things working 24/7, the speed of change and job displacement could just become exponential. And this isn't science fiction. It's expected to be widespread within just 5 years.
All right, so we've got the internal pressure, we've got the AI explosion, but there's a third massive piece to this puzzle. And for that, we need to zoom way, way out. Because while all this is going on, the entire global system that's been running the world since World War II is starting to come apart at the seams. For decades, the world ran on a pretty simple operating system: US-led globalization and wide open markets. The main question that policymakers always asked was, will this make us richer? Well, that world is fading. We're moving into a new one. defined by competition between many different powers, where countries are focused on their own national security and building their own industries. So the key question is no longer, is it richer? It's now, is it safer?
And this isn't some clean break, like a new Cold War with two clear sides. Martin Wolf from the Financial Times calls it chaotic fragmentation, and that's the perfect way to describe it. It's messy, it's complicated, it's unpredictable. Global supply chains are being rewired, and old alliances are being tested.
So, what happens when you throw all of this into a blender? The stressed-out domestic economy, the AI revolution, and this fractured global order. Well, what you get is a complete redrawing of the world's economic map. I mean, just take a look at this. The projection for 2050 is stunning. Today, the top of the list is pretty familiar, right? The US, China, Japan, Germany. But by 2050, whoa. China and India are projected to be numbers 1 and 2. The US slips to 3rd, and look who's joining the party at the top. Indonesia and Brazil. The entire economic center of gravity of the world is just shifting east, and it's happening fast.
And to really put that into perspective, we're not talking about a small change. China's projected economy is over $58 trillion. India's $44 trillion. I mean, those numbers absolutely dwarf the rest of the world. This is the definition of new economic superpowers rising.
Okay, so here's the real takeaway. The domestic inequality, the AI accelerator, and this geopolitical fragmentation, these are not 3 separate stories. They are all interconnected forces weaving together right now to actively create this new economic reality. This reset isn't something on the distant horizon, we are living through it. And that leaves us with the biggest question of all, the one that really matters for you and for me. These forces are bigger than any one of us, but they're going to shape all of our lives, our careers, our financial futures. So as this old economic map gets torn to shreds and a new one is drawn right in front of us, where are you going to find your place on it?